So you may have heard of the Battle of Waterloo, that battle between the titans that were Napoleon and Wellington back in 1815. The famous paintings that show both these men in their glory days show them often astride glorious, glossy, powerful horses. These horses were not just props in these paintings, they were pretty impressive in their own right too. Wellington was an experienced horseman, and his favourite horse was a chestnut stallion called Copenhagen, who had 2 white heels and was muscular, powerful and compact. When the Duke set eyes on him, he allegedly said, "There may have been many faster horses, no doubt many handsomer, but for bottom and endurance I never saw his fellow." Copenhagen was born in 1808 and was said to have been a spirited animal with a racing background and a fast kick. This racing background probably got him used to crowds and loud noises, which would come in handy later on in his life when he became a war horse. He was said to be a bit cantankerous and adored attention. This description seems to be a bit of a theme with horses who survive and battle against the odds. Please see my other video on Sefton. He seemed to have a very similar personality to Copenhagen. Copenhagen had various other owners and was eventually purchased for Wellington. Wellington initially used Copenhagen as a horse for hunting and built Copenhagen's stamina and endurance by thundering on hunts following the hounds for hours at a time. This stood him in good stead for the 17 hours that Wellington would ride him on the day of the Battle of Waterloo. There's a good story that after the battle, Wellington dismounted, patted Copenhagen on the flank, to which the horse responded by aiming a double kick at Wellington's head. He narrowly missed. Can you imagine winning Waterloo and then potentially being killed by a kick to the head from your own horse? Napoleon was also very fond of his horses, and he had 52 horses in his stable, with names such as Jaffa and Desiree and Ali. He saw them not only as a machine to be used in wartime, but also appreciated the glamour they brought him. He certainly enjoyed a good pose on a powerful rearing horse as part of his mystique and propaganda, that's for sure. His most preferred mount was Marego, who was a small grey Arab stallion. Marego was born around 1793 and was wounded 8 times in his career, and he never threw his master. He even had a bullet lodged in his tail. He carried Napoleon in various famous battles, the first being a battle against the Austrians near the Italian village of Marengo. Napoleon was victorious at this battle, and he renamed his horse after the village. Marengo was known for being fast. He galloped 80 miles in 5 hours, and by the time he was 19, he'd walked 3,000 miles to Moscow and back. When Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo, Marego was captured and taken to Great Britain, where he lived until the age of 38, having outlived Napoleon, his master, by 10 years. His skeleton was passed eventually to the National Army Museum in Chelsea, where you can see it on display to this day, having recently undergone some conservation work. 2 of his hooves are missing though, as one was made into a snuff box and the other was originally turned into a silver inkwell. Copenhagen remained by Wellington's side after the battle, riding in parades and ceremonial events. He retired eventually to the Duke's Stratfield Say house and lived there for the rest of his life, where he enjoyed being adored by the aristocratic ladies who visited. It is said that he kissed hands and ate his apples with all possible grace. It became fashionable to wear pieces of jewellery containing strands of Copenhagen's hair. Copenhagen died in 1836, aged 28, and was buried with full military honours at Stratfield Say House. Wellington was present at the funeral, and he noticed at the funeral that one of Copenhagen's hooves had been removed, and he flew into a most violent passion. This hoof was eventually retrieved and turned into an inkstand. A few years after Copenhagen's death, the Duke was asked to exhume Copenhagen to display the skeleton alongside Marengo, but he refused. So as you can see, these beautiful war horses were more than an image or a prop in a painting. They were gorgeous creatures who showed bravery, resilience and character, and who were much respected and admired by their very famous owners.